How's the event been so far? Having a good time? So today we're going to share with you some knowledge from the ancient Vedic texts. Has anyone heard of the Vedas before? A few of you. Hopefully some of you. So the Vedas are very ancient wisdom books which are appearing in India. But they are not an ethnic or a historical or geographical tradition, but they are actually an ancient philosophical set of books. And has anyone heard the word Bhagavad Gita before? A few of you? Very nice. So Bhagavad Gita is considered to be, from all of those ancient Vedic books, the most important. It's the introductory philosophical book which explains many, many things. It explains about who are we. It explains that why are we suffering in this world. It explains that how are we affected by the different influences of the material world. And it explains about the law of karma. Has everyone heard of the word karma before? Hopefully. That's actually an English word now, so if you haven't heard of it, what to do? So the Vedas are very deep in their teachings. And what does the word mean? The word Veda comes from the root vid in Sanskrit, which means to know. So we have that word in English in the form of, for instance, the word video or the word vision, because it's also part of the European languages. Does anyone know what books the Vedas are written in? Anybody know? Sanskrit, correct. So some of you may know that actually Sanskrit is considered to be, by mainstream academics, the oldest living language in the world. And specifically it pertains to a language family, which means languages that have been already proven to be connected historically. So all of our European languages such as Latin and our Slavic languages, Eastern European languages, Baltic languages, etc., they all come from the same root. Therefore you find the word video, vision, in German wissen, in Italian you say vedere, to see. So these are all the same root as the word Veda. So when you study that word in European languages, it comes to mean to see, right? Like video is referring to something you see. Vedere in Italian means to see, or in Spanish you say ver. So why is it that there is a connection between knowing and seeing? So that is explained that to actually know things properly and to actually see things properly, you have to receive transcendental knowledge. So therefore, when you actually have the correct knowledge, then our vision changes. Just like, for instance, are there any children in the room? Couple of children. How old are you, my friend, on the front row? 7. Wow, wonderful. Thank you for coming. So for instance, if you have a baby, and then you have a very expert scientist who knows all about trees, when they see a tree, are they seeing the same thing? What do you think? Are they seeing the same thing? In one sense, yes, because as long as you have good eyesight, you'll be seeing the same tree, the same colors, etc. But at the same time, if you're a scientist who is very well versed in the knowledge of biology, then when you see that tree, there will be millions of facts which you can tell about the tree. Whereas this young little baby, he won't be able to tell you much about the tree, maybe just what it looks like. So this is the point about knowledge, that knowledge is very important because knowledge changes our perspective of the world. It's explained that we suffer in this world due to attachment and desire. Has anyone had the experience of that before? Yeah. So generally, why do we get attached to things? Because we think something is going to give us pleasure. This is described in the ancient yoga texts, that things which give us pleasure, we become attached to them. And things which give us pain, then we become averse to them. This is called bhoga and tyaga. So when we develop attachment, we have an expectational psychology, that if I get this thing, this conception, this notion of the self, this particular possession, this particular facility, I'll become happy and I'll become peaceful and I will enjoy it. But as we see that things in the material world, although they may give us something in a short level of time, ultimately we see that the result changes. So therefore the Vedas explain that really in order to become free from suffering, then we have to become free from ignorance. Because ignorance is what causes us to develop this expectational psychology, that certain things, certain conceptions, certain facilities, etc., they will fulfill me. So that's why they're called the Vedas. So especially the Bhagavad Gita, if you have not read it already, then we recommend, and you can have a look at that book and study it deeply. So what is the purpose of this event tonight? So the purpose of this event is we are trying to share with you this ancient spiritual knowledge, this ancient spiritual culture, in order to help you to become more happy, and in order to develop a spiritual consciousness, and in order to live in a way which is in harmony with your original self. That is the purpose of this event tonight. And therefore not only are we giving knowledge, but we'll also be sharing some drama. We'll also be doing kirtan. We did already at the beginning. We'll be doing some more. And if you would like to read about the Bhagavad Gita, we are very lucky tonight because we have it just here at the back. So you can see my friend at the back is holding up the book. So we recommend all of you who do not have a book to please take a copy. So, what are the teachings which we find in the Bhagavad Gita? It's very difficult to share in a few minutes, but I'll give you some of the highlights. So the first lesson of the Bhagavad Gita is that it's teaching about identity. It is said that knowledge brings power. Does everyone believe that? What do you think? Knowledge gives power? Just like, if you didn't know about this event tonight, you wouldn't have the power to come, would you? You'd be sitting at home, maybe watching the telly. So therefore, knowledge gives power, but Bhagavad Gita teaches about the self. And it is said that self-knowledge brings self-empowerment. So therefore, this knowledge is very important to know about who am I. So it's explained in the Bhagavad Gita that the self is not simply a biological unit, a biological faculty, but actually it is the thing which is behind that, running the thing. One analogy is given, it's just like a vehicle. When you drive the car, sometimes you may identify when you're driving in a nice BMW, wow, look, I'm a very rich man, look at me, my nice car, etc., right? But as we know, nobody is the car, they're the driver inside of the car. So the Bhagavad Gita explains that actually beyond the body, we have different levels. So first you have what is called the gross body, or what is called the physical body. In the Bible, that is called the terrestrial body. So therefore we see that the body is a temporary thing which is always changing, right? Just like today I looked in the mirror, I saw, oh, I have a new grey hair. So the nature of this body is that it's always changing. It's explained that according to your age, relative to your age, every 7 to 10 years, every single cell in your body has changed. Imagine that. So that means, if my dear friend here looks in the mirror in 10 years, he'll be 100% a different body than what he is now. Isn't that crazy? And not only that, the skin, just like our outer layer of skin, that changes within 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, all of the skin cells are renewed. Therefore, when you do cleaning and there's dust, did anyone know that a lot of dust actually is skin cells? So imagine, the body itself is changing and is in a constant state of change. So therefore we see that the person inside is different to the body. Therefore we can deduce from that I must not be my body. When we study particularly European historical notions of what the self is, for instance Greek philosophy, like Plato and Aristotle, etc., then they say that what we are is the psyche. But there they also, according to Bhagavad Gita, they conflate two things. One is the self and one is not the self. So the psyche, generally they think that the mind is the self. But we know that we are not the mind, right? Just like, has anyone ever drunk alcohol before? Anyone in the room? Hey! So when you drink alcohol, do you notice a big change in your mental state? You do, right? But does it mean you've lost your sense of identity or who you are has changed? No, right? So therefore we see that not only is the body contingent to external variables, but similarly the mind is also contingent to so many things, whether we sleep enough, depending on our age, depending on how we are, what we've taken, etc. And beyond that, Bhagavad Gita explains that the self is also not the intelligence, but the intelligence is also a covering of the self. So how can we logically deduce that? Well, okay, we're not the body, okay, maybe I accept that. Okay, maybe we're not the mind, but my intelligence is completely me. You know, I'm a clever guy. I'm an intelligent person, you know. But actually we can see that just, for instance, if you do not sleep enough, or for instance, if you're a child and an adult, we can see that the intelligence is also changing, depending on external variables. We can see that, for instance, if someone has for instance, they get in a car crash, then their mental state may not be fully there. But does that mean someone says, oh, I don't love you anymore? You're not the same person because you're no longer intelligent. Will anyone say that? No, right? Therefore, we can understand that the intelligence is also something external to the self. So Bhagavad Gita explains that although we have the physical world, beyond that is the body, beyond that is our mind, beyond that is our intelligence, and then what does it say? Beyond that there is the false ego. So the word ego is actually an ancient Indo-European word, ego, and that comes from actually the Sanskrit word for the self, which is ego becomes aham. Therefore Prabhupada, our teacher, you can see his picture here, he translates it as false ego. The word for that in Sanskrit is ahankara. Ahankara means I am the doer. Just like the word karma comes from the root kri, or for instance English increase, decrease, etc. So the same root comes into the form of kara. So karma is action, and the one who's doing the action, that is called the kara. So you have the karma and the kara. So therefore it is said that we are not also our false ego, because a false ego is the thing which is making this tendency in the world that I want to control things, I want to enjoy things. Has anyone noticed that the whole modern society is simply about trying to please the self, simply about selfishness? If you look at Instagram, Facebook, ads, everything is there simply trying to tempt us into becoming more and more self-indulgent. So that is called the process of sense gratification. So sense gratification is actually antithetical to the self's rational self-interest. Why is that? I want to enjoy. I want to go to the pub and get blasted. I want to go to the cinema and watch some mind-numbing movies so I can forget my problems. So why is it said in Bhagavad Gita that sense gratification is antithetical to our ultimate self-interest? The reason is because sense gratification goes against the nature of the self. The nature of the self is to love. And therefore the part of loving is becoming selfless. So we see that when you are acting in a way which is all about me, how can I enjoy, how can I expand my field of enjoyment, how can I accumulate more objects, a larger bank balance so I can try to execute more desires. When we study people that do that, we can see that they never become satisfied. That's like one of our friends in London, he's a billionaire, he's one of the top 10 richest people in the UK. But even he says, I have so much, but inside, I feel like I don't have much at all. Even just you may be a billionaire, but if you don't have any friends who really love you, what are you going to do sitting in a $200,000, £200,000 car? You're just going to cry in your car all alone, isn't it? Similarly, if you have a big house, which is worth 500 million pounds, but if you don't have family that love you, and your wife wants to divorce you because you're never caring for the kids, you never give her attention, then you're just going to cry in your 500 million pound house. What's the point? So therefore we see that ultimately the self is looking for love. And therefore sense gratification is not useful for us because it's training our mind to think in the wrong direction. It's explained that any notion of happiness which is based on the premise that I am the center is illusory. Does everyone agree with that? What do you think? Is that true? It has to be. Logically it has to be true, because if everyone is thinking they are the center, then there's no center, right? It's like this is the center of the room. But if my friend here on the end is saying that's the center of the room, and you're saying that's the center of the room, then where's the center? So therefore it's said that any attempt at happiness based on the principle that I am the center is illusory. Therefore, we can logically deduce that any attempt at happiness based on the premise that I am the center is also completely 100% illusory. So therefore, okay, what is the right methodology in order to become happy in this world? Bhagavad Gita explains that the nature of the self is to love. But we see in this world, we are loving people based on false notions of who they are. Just like I love somebody because they have a certain physical appearance. I love somebody because they have a certain position in society. I love somebody because they have a certain hair color, or they have a certain ability to make good jokes. But we can see all of those qualities can change. They can change in 1 hour. Just like today I have black hair, tomorrow I may bleach it and get blonde hair. So all of these things which we are trying to love people based on the body, that is not actual love. We are just simply loving how somebody makes us feel. But what is the real way to love in this world? Is to love people as spiritual beings, because that is who they really are. But when we study love in this world, we see that although we give so much love to people, it's very difficult to be reciprocated in that love. Has anyone found that before? That you give and you give and you give, but you feel like it's just a one-way relationship. Or you feel like this person doesn't really love me for who I am. They love something about me, whether it's my position, whether it's my externals, whether it's a certain trait I have. But they don't really love me as a spiritual being. So it's explained that we are individual souls, but the individual soul is very limited in its size. But we have an unlimited capacity to love. Therefore, in order to appropriately get that love we're looking for, that type of love can only be reciprocated, not with the limited being, but with the unlimited being. And therefore, the unlimited being has a name. The unlimited being has personhood. It's not simply that I love a vague energy in the sky, or I love the universe. Because what about the universe do you love? Is it Mars? Is it Pluto? Is it space? Is it the black hole? What do you love about the universe specifically? So therefore, love is only possible with a person. Personhood is ultimately the most important aspect of that supreme thing. It's explained that when we want to understand things intellectually, when we want to have Veda, knowledge, vision, then we must see things based on causal relationships. So we can see that whatever is in the effect must be there in the cause. Therefore, if the effect we are all experiencing this world, that we are individual units of consciousness, therefore, if that is present in the effect, it must be logically necessary that that is also present in the cause. So therefore, this supreme consciousness, the supreme lover, has a name, and that name in Sanskrit is referred to as Krishna. Krishna or Govinda. Can everyone say Krishna?
Krishna.
Can everyone say Govinda?
Govinda.
So Krishna means the all-attractive. The all attractiveness is the most important quality of the supreme person who we are trying to love. Because all attractiveness has within that definition, it includes all of the wonderful qualities which are present, such as beauty, intelligence, strength, etc. So what we are presenting here today is that you take some books with you, you take some wisdom with you, you take the chanting which we'll do, you take it very seriously, you try and chant with your heart, and therefore we can get an experience of this loving relationship. So thank you very much. It's very important to share this wisdom, and you've all listened very, very attentively, so I'm very grateful for that. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your festival. Hare Krishna.